Today we'll discuss practical application of the Pancha Kosha, so the 5 sheaths in our day-to-day life. Everybody wants to practice spiritual life happily, but we live with lot of confusions, insecurities and fears. Right? And just by externally practicing bhakti, by just doing some rituals, we are unable to transcend these fears, insecurities. Therefore, we need to understand the Pancha Koshas and then have some practices that help us discover our real self. So today we will discuss 3 ways to experience the soul, or be at the level of the I, the level of the Atman. But before that, let us summarize. These 5 koshas or 5 coverings on the soul. What is the outermost covering? Annamaya kosha. What is Annamaya? The food body. This what you see, hands, the skin, the bones, all of this comes under Annamaya. Now if you go deeper, then the Taittiriya Upanishad explains that there is what is called as Pranamaya. Pranamaya is the life force. And we did an experiment. We spent some time breathing in, inhaling and exhaling and connecting to our breath, and thus recognizing how even prana is an object. Just like this body is drishta, but I am drishya, I actually see this, and body is vikari, changing, but I am avikari. Body is jada, dull, matter, but I am chetan. Similarly, even prana is matter. Prana is an object. And then we went deeper. Anyo antaratma manomaya. I am not the body. I am not the life force. I am also not the mind. Most of us educated people who are not in ISKCON or not in spiritual practices, but when they go deeper, they understand themselves in terms of their personality. I am dominant, sanguine, melancholy, or anagram they study. So they know who they are based on their personality. And then we went deeper and understood that Anyo Antaratma, Vijnanamaya. We discussed about our intellect, the sheath of intellect. Conscience, intuition, understanding, discrimination, memory, forgetfulness, all that. So now we are coming closer to the real self. And finally we discussed Anyo Antaratma Anandamaya. How we realize that I am none of this, but I am bliss. But then we discussed how even that bliss is not me, because that bliss is experienced by me. We gave an example of deep sleep. Sometimes you go to deep sleep and you wake up and you say, I was fast asleep, I didn't think of anything. I didn't know anything, I was fast asleep. You say that sometimes. That not knowing is also knowing. That means somebody was there, something was shining, something was alive, which experienced that ananda. So like that, we realize we are not these 5 layers. Then who am I? The Upanishad keeps quiet. Because you are that, tattvam asi. Because now, if soul is also defined, then we will always see soul as an object. The soul is not an object, the soul is the subject. I am the soul. So we discussed how these 5 layers are not me. And then we discussed also how we can experience. It's not that we have to dig deeper and see the soul. The soul is manifest through these 5 sheaths. The fact that you are alive, you are awake, you are alert, you are active now means you are the soul. You don't need to see the eyes to believe or prove that you have eyes. The fact that you are seeing means you have eyes. I don't need to see my tongue to believe that I have tongue. The fact that I am speaking means I have tongue. And I can't say that, okay, now go deep into this table and then you will see wood. No, the fact that this is wood. You don't have to go dive deep into the wave to see water. The wave is water. Similarly, you don't have to go beyond all these koshas to see the soul. You are the soul. You are that. Tattvam asi. And we discussed the story of this sadhu who taught Dashamastvam asi. The 10th person is you. We always see everyone outside of us. But the 10th is I. Similarly, I am not the Annamaya, I am not the Pranamaya, I am not vijnanamaya, I am not Anandamaya, but who am I? I am the soul. So this was all theory that we discussed last time. Today we will discuss how this understanding of Pancha Koshas helps us experience and realize the soul. So for that, basically today we are going to discuss 3 statements of Srila Prabhupada, which all of us know in theory. But today we will discuss how we can experience these 3 statements of Prabhupada. One of the most common statements Srila Prabhupada made was, I am not the body. Have you heard this? How many times Srila Prabhupada said this? You want to say something? You raised your hand, no? Prabhupada said many times, right? Srila Prabhupada said, I am not the body. This is a very famous statement of Srila Prabhupada. So how do we experience this? I am not the body. That is one statement of Srila Prabhupada. Second, Srila Prabhupada's most famous statement is, I am not the body, then who am I? Prabhupada said, I am a pure spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. This also you have heard? Yes. And the third statement Srila Prabhupada often says in many of his classes, the soul or I have a loving relationship with Krishna. These are the 3 statements of Srila Prabhupada. So there are some basic practices which if we inculcate, we can experience these 3 statements. So before that, let us first repeat. You can repeat after me these 3 statements of Prabhupada. The first one, I'll say and then you repeat after me. I am not the body.
I am not the body.
The second statement, I am a pure spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. The third statement, I have a loving relationship with Krishna. Now let's go to the first statement. I am not the body. So how do I experience this? I am not the body. For this, you need to attend day before yesterday's class. We discussed first how the Pancha Kosha. See, when I say I am not the body, and then we say I am the soul. But now we need to zoom into the statement, I am not the body. And then we realized, I am not simply not the body. I am not Annamaya. I am not Pranamaya. I am not Manomaya. I am not Vijnanamaya. I am not Anandamaya. I am not all of this. It's not simply sufficient to say, I am not the body. I am also not the pranam. Because many of us identify ourselves with the body. Although we say, I am not the body, but when you have some diseases, you are really miserable. That means we are identifying with the body. When your prana is disturbed, you may be very tired. You may be very sick. You may be very hungry sometimes. But have you ever said, my prana is disturbed, my pranamaya kosha is, or what do we say generally? I am hungry. Without thinking twice, we say, I have a headache. We don't say my head is paining. I have a headache. I am hungry. It's not that my prana is disturbed. Or let's say, simple example. You are very sad because of something. You are very angry with someone. What do you say? I am sad. I am very angry. Ideally, if we are convinced I am not the body, what we should be saying? My mind is sad. My mind is angry. We don't say, we are not able to separate ourselves from Manomaya because most people are stuck here. Our identity is merged with Manomaya. Let us say your intellect lacks some information because of which you are not able to make a decision. So you are, what do you say then? I am confused. Have you said this sometime? Or you are lazy, you say I am lazy. No, your intellect is confused. Your intellect is unable to decide. You have nothing to do with the intellect. You are not the body. When we say I am not the body, I am actually not Annamaya, I am not Pranamaya. We also identify with our happiness. Actually our happiness, what we call happiness is generally pleasure. Some titillation of the senses, we think I am in ecstasy. We are none of this. So how do we realize I am not the body? This is the first step, what I am sharing now, is separate ourselves from all the different koshas through awareness. This is the first step. First step of experiencing I am not the body is what? Separating ourselves through awareness from these 5 koshas. What I did just now, this is an exercise. I'll give a simple example. Today morning, for example, I was, something happened in Mumbai and I was sad because of that. But I could pause, take out my journal and I wrote, my mind is very sad. So what did I do by writing this statement or by saying this? I have separated myself from my emotion of sadness. That means I am practicing how I am not the body. So this is a very, very important step. Srila Prabhupada said, I am not the body. We can experience this by separating ourselves from these Pancha Koshas through awareness. This is the most important step. Now, having said that, let me clarify. That doesn't mean, we have made a mistake in the past. I am not the body, I am the soul. So we ignore the body. And then later on we have to pay a heavy price. Similarly, now we can make another mistake. I am not the Pancha Kosha, I am not Annamaya, I am not Pranamaya, I am not Manamaya, I am not Vijnanamaya, I am not Anandamaya, I am a soul. Then what do? We ignore the Pancha Koshas. Same thing we do. Therefore, just like we don't ignore the body, all of you take prasad, you do exercise, you take care of your body. Similarly, take care of the 5 koshas so that there is some stability and you can practice spiritual life. So to realize I am not the body, 2 things. Okay, we are taking today 3 statements of Prabhupada. Right now we are focusing on the first statement of Srila Prabhupada. What is that? I am not the body. To experience how I am not the body, first step is to practice awareness and separate ourselves from the Pancha Koshas. And second, take care of these koshas. And how do we do that? That's a whole different subject matter. All of you are intelligent. You can practice. Like for Annamaya, what do you need to do? You need to watch what you eat. Simple. As you get older, you need to take care of your body. Do some exercise or eat prasad properly. Many of us are guilty of emotional eating. Anybody here guilty of emotional eating? We all. Ideally, animals practice intuitive eating. Animals know what not to eat. I've seen a cat, and the cat is sick, she doesn't eat. She will fast. But we don't practice intuitive eating. We don't listen to the body signals. We just emotionally eat. We don't know how to process our emotions. See, ideally we should be processing our emotions. But to regulate our emotions, we eat when we are emotionally disturbed. Ideally, we should regulate our emotions by processing them, by understanding what is happening. But eating has become our go-to. And the whole culture promotes eating. Oh, darling, you're crying. They'll tell the baby, don't cry, don't be sad, eat this. Or, oh, you're working so hard, you're tired, you deserve an ice cream. So we think when you're sad or emotionally upset or emotionally exhausted, stressed, you need to eat. So we don't know how much we are harming ourselves. So eating is needed, but not emotionally. So Annamaya Kosha can be taken care through proper eating habits. How, why, that's another subject matter. See, Taittiriya Upanishad is not an anatomy book. It is not telling you how to take care of this Pancha Kosha. It is teaching us how we are not these koshas and I am the soul. That's the whole idea. The idea is to disentangle ourselves from these koshas. But because we are not so advanced, we need to take care of this kosha. So please take care of your Annamaya Kosha. And Pranamaya Kosha you can take care by inhale, exhale, some pause, breathe, slow down. Mind is going at full speed. The earth is spinning at what speed in its own axis? Anybody knows? I know all Google Baba will tell you immediately. But it's lakhs of kilometers, the earth rotates in its own axis. It's like hundreds and thousands of miles. And at what speed does the earth rotate around the sun? That is also thousands of miles per hour. So just imagine, earth is moving at thousands of miles per second in its own axis, then moving at an incredible speed around the sun. And we are on that planet sitting in an airplane, and that airplane is also flying at 1,000 miles per hour. So just imagine there is planet Earth moving like mad and going around the sun also at a crazy speed. And inside that, on that planet Earth, there is a plane which is also moving at a full speed. And inside that plane, you are sitting and your mind is also going at full speed. You can imagine how much disturbed our prana is. We just don't know how to relax and do nothing. Just relax. Let the prana, let there be normal flow. Life force is so disturbed. One day I was just relaxing, just sitting in the terrace of our ashram. So one brahmachari came and said, "What are you doing, Prabhu?" I said, "I'm doing nothing." He said, "What?" He just couldn't believe. He said, "Oh, you must be memorizing shlokas because you quote a lot of shlokas in your classes." I said, "No, I'm not memorizing." "Oh, you must be praying to Krishna." "Not really. I'm just doing nothing." He just couldn't get it. How can you do nothing? I said, "Prabhu, it requires a lot of hard work to do nothing." So we are prana. And I don't know if you have experienced. Sometimes, suddenly I become peaceful. Sometimes we feel peaceful. Anybody suddenly felt very peaceful? And then suddenly when you're peaceful, you become disturbed. How can I be peaceful? I should be doing something. There has to be some agitation. We just don't know how to handle peace. Our prana is constantly disturbed. Mind is disturbed. So therefore we need practices which will take care of our annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha. And for manomaya, I practice awareness, like through journaling. I separate myself from my mind is now telling me to get up and go to the washroom. My mind now tells me to check the WhatsApp. Whatever the mind says, I just write it down sometimes. It's not me. The video camera is observing. Just like the video camera is observing this room, what will the video camera say? Oh, there is a clock here. There are 7 sets of DTs. And there is Srila Prabhupada's DT here. So all that is what a video camera would observe. The video camera would say it is 75 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever. But a human being, when he is observing this room, what he would say? Oh, this is very hot. There are too many devotees in the temple hall. But the camera won't say there are too many devotees. The camera would say there are 40 devotees or 43 devotees. The point is there is a difference between observation and judgment. So when you observe what's happening in the mind without judging, you are practicing awareness. And you are separating yourself from your mind. Is this very difficult? It's not. If you begin with baby steps every day, just 2 minutes you practice. But that is manomaya, we can take care of. Become more aware of our needs, feelings. There is a needs, feelings card which I've often shared. Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication teaches us how to separate ourselves. For like that, there are many techniques. That is manomaya. And vijnanamaya kosha, that sheath we can take care by asking the why questions. Keami, kene amar, jara tapatray. Why am I suffering? What is the goal of life? These questions spark the vijnanamaya kosha, or we access higher intelligence. Unfortunately, many of us devotees, we are guilty of not asking the right questions and imagining that we are developing our vijnanamaya kosha. Instead of asking the why questions, we always are addicted to asking how questions. Prabhuji, how to chant attentively? Prabhuji, how to do this? How? All the how answers will not last long because there is no deep why. If you ask why, you have to think hard. If you ask how, it's the speaker's job to answer and you just have to take it. Prabhu, how to improve chanting? So I said, you can improve chanting. This is a true story. You may not believe me, but it is true. Somebody asked me how to improve chanting. Because I said chanting is the goal of life. I said, how to improve chanting? By being present, mindful. Next class, somebody said, how to be mindful? I said, by sattva practices. And the next class, somebody said, how to develop sattva practices? I said, by slowing down our lives. I gave all these examples of the mind travels and all that. Okay, the next class. How to slow down our lives? I said, by breathing. And somebody said, my life is so fast. I don't know how to stop and breathe. What should I do? I said, journal. How do I journal, Prabhu? What are the types of journaling? How to write journal every day? I said, nothing will work. Just chant Hare Krishna. And the next class, somebody said, Prabhuji, how to chant Hare Krishna? I said, by being mindful. And the next class, how to be mindful, Prabhuji? How to be mindful? By sattva practices. You see, this is a never-ending loop. How? So in ISKCON, we have a typical how to do it questions. The answers to those questions are, you do it by doing it. How to become sincere, Prabhuji? You become sincere. So instead of how, if we ask why, we develop a curiosity mindset, a seeker's mentality. That is what Kathopanishad says. Uttishta jagrata prapya varan nibodhata. Get up, wake up. Earlier times, people were provoked with challenging verses which encouraged them to leave home and seek the spiritual truth. The Kathopanishad says, Uttishta jagrata prapya varan nibodhata kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgam patastat kavayo vadanti. Come to spiritual life, come to spiritual life. It is very difficult. It is a razor's edge. Many great philosophers have said it is filled with obstacles, so come. And people would hear this verse and they would dive into spiritual life. Because it was exciting. Now if you tell this verse, people will run away. We have to tell them spiritual life is very easy. Just eat gulab jamun, hari bol. We have to mollycoddle them all the time. Isn't it? So earlier times, spiritual life was catch interested people. You go to Haridwar, Rishikesh, Vrindavan, Chitrakoot, Ayodhya, you see so many Babajis, you ask them how you became Babaji. When I was a teenager, I read this verse in Mundaka Upanishad. Samane vrikshe purusho nimagno nishayasho chati muyyamana. I read this verse which says there are two birds in the tree. One bird is enjoying, the other bird is observing. I was intrigued. I wanted to know more. Or another Babaji says, I read this verse which says, get up, take up the challenge of spiritual life. Another Babaji says, I was in college and I read this verse which says, we are not animals, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. We should seek something higher. This is what provoked people. Because spiritual life meant catch interested people. But now spiritual life means create interest in people. Create interest. Tell them some jokes, some shairis. I used to say a lot of shairis in my class. Then I got so badnaam, people used to come to me with their mobile. Prabhuji, please repeat that shairi, I want to record. I said, I am not an entertainer. So you have to create interest in people. So I tell them, nowadays when they tell me shairi bolo, shairi bolo. I tell them, tum bhi likho shairi, तुम्हारा भी नाम हो जाएगा जब पड़ेंगे अंडे टमाटर तो शाम के सब्जी का इंतजाम हो जाएगा. So just शायरी को कुछ फायदा नहीं. Create interest in people. Want to create interest in people. Now there is a third level now. Spirituality has gone to third level. Like my friend Gaur Gopal Prabhu, I was telling him recently that Prabhu, earlier times we used to catch interested people. Now we create interest in people. And you are at the third level of preaching. You are taking care of people's interests. That is even more challenging. And they are like, very stubborn, tantrum throwing child. You have to do so many things to make them chant one round of Hare Krishna. Anyway, so why I am saying all of this, I don't know. Vijnanamaya Kosha. So Vijnanamaya Kosha, if you want to develop, we can't just fool ourselves and delude ourselves to thinking that I'm a spiritualist just because I'm coming to Hare Krishna classes. No, are we reading the scriptures deeply? Do we have a curiosity mindset? When we hear Srila Prabhupada's statements, what do we do generally? Either we fanatically accept it, or we ignore it, saying that it is a pure devotee speaking. Like I'll give an example. 3 days back I was hearing Prabhupada's class and Prabhupada said, so we Hare Krishna devotees, we can chant whole day Hare Krishna and we never get tired. I said, really? So my first reaction was, Hare, Prabhupada pure devotee, Prabhupada Hari Bol. Prabhupada is pure devotee, it is applying to Prabhupada, not to us. So ignore. Ignore was the first option I had. The second option was to be a jihadi, fanatic. Prabhupada says, holy name, Harinam is most powerful. Prabhupada said it, so it works. Harinam is Jai, Harinam, Sankirtan ki Jai, Hari Bol. That's like fanatic. Or Prabhupada is pure devotee. Both approaches will not develop my Vijnanamaya Kosha. I practiced a third approach. Prabhupada says, devotees can chant whole day and they don't get tired. What is there in the holy name that Srila Prabhupada is saying like this? Why is Srila Prabhupada saying that the holy name a devotee can chant whole day? Are you seeing a fundamental shift in my thought process? I'm I'm going deeper in this by this question. You know how the universe reciprocates when you ask these kind of questions? Hare Krishna.
I get that.
Wow. That was his moment of glory. I thought he came to hug me. I was so happy. He wanted to hug the microphone. I was disappointed. So what was I saying? I forgot. Yeah, instead of challenging Srila Prabhupada's statement or denying it or fanatically supporting it, I entered a curiosity space. Why is Srila Prabhupada saying this? What is there in the holy name? You know what happened because of this asking the right kind of questions? The scriptures say that, seek and you shall find. You know, when you are ready, the master comes. You know, they say that. That's kind of these statements. Similarly, because I had a curiosity mindset for this statement of Prabhupada, so we can chant whole day and we don't feel tired. Just because I approached a seeker's mentality for this verse, you know how the universe conspired to help me? Just a few days later, I found a verse from Hari Bhakti Vilas, 17th chapter, Sanatana Goswami writing the 6 rules for attentive chanting. And when I read those verses, when I read that verse, it was an epiphany for me. And I was like, wow. And everything made sense why holy name is so powerful. And those six rules completely resonated with me. And I've already given 3 or 4 classes on that. And devotees are writing to me saying they are appreciating it so much. Now when I look back, how am I able to speak on that verse? Because I got that verse from somewhere. Where did I get that verse? Because I had the right attitude. So it is a curiosity seeker's mentality that actually helps us develop our vijnanamaya kosha. Anyway, so that's one. That's annamaya, pranamaya, manomaya, vijnanamaya, like that. And anandamaya kosha develops when we live beyond ourselves. When we actually give love. That's when actually it develops. So this is the first statement of Prabhupada we took today. What is the first statement? I am not the body. So we can realize I am not the body by doing 2 activities. One is by developing awareness and separating ourselves from the Pancha Koshas. And secondly, by taking care of these koshas in a reasonable way, not in an obsessive way. Now let us take the second statement of Srila Prabhupada and let's see how we can experience this. What is the second statement of Srila Prabhupada? You'll repeat after me. I am a pure spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. So now please fancy like this. You are in the center. On your left is the Pancha Koshas, the conglomerate of mind, intelligence, ego, all the things, Anna, Prana, Manomaya, it's all on your left side. You are in the center. And on your right is Krishna. Is this okay? Left is the Pancha Koshas. I am the center. And on my right is Krishna. Now, where do you think all of us individually ask yourself, where is your head turned to? Is it centered? Is it on your right or is it on your left? Left. We are all looking at this left side of ours. We are identifying ourselves with Anna, Prana, Mano, Vijnana and Anandamaya. This is who I am. But to experience Srila Prabhupada's second statement that I am a pure spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, we need to access a reality beyond the Pancha Koshas. And that the first step is Jnane prayasamudapasa namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane stita shrutigatam tanuvam manobir ye prayasho jitajitop asite strilokyan. The Bhagavatam 10th canto, 14th chapter explains the starting step of accessing a reality beyond our Pancha Koshas is hearing scriptures. Basically, when we hear scriptures or study scriptures, we are accessing a higher intelligence. Right now, our intelligence is also contaminated. Sorry to say this. For practical day-to-day level, our intelligence may help us control our mind, but if the intelligence is not grounded in scriptures, in higher wisdom, then our intelligence simply becomes another bodyguard of the false ego. The false ego has 2 bodyguards, mind and intelligence. The false ego issue a diktat. I am the enjoyer. I am the greatest. And the mind as the first obedient bodyguard practices accepting and rejecting. Sankalpa, vikalpa. So, if you come to me after my class and say, Prabhu, what a beautiful class you gave. So, false ego is nourished because I am the enjoyer. And the mind as the obedient servant, what will the mind do? Will the mind accept you or reject you? Accept you. Why? Because you served my false ego. You served my master. So the mind will accept you. Sankalpa, vikalpa, accept. And the intelligence will supply arguments. How? Oh, this person is very good. He could recognize your glory. He is from IIT. IIT people are very intelligent. So this is how intelligence works. And imagine tomorrow you tell someone how you backmouth about, you say something nasty about me, make some uncharitable comments. And I come to know, now the false ego is devastated. So then the mind will do what? Accept or reject? Reject. And the intelligence will again supply arguments. Intelligence will say, oh, he's from IIT. You know, IIT means high education. High education means false pride. Kunti Devi says, intelligence has all the verses also to quote. So intelligence is actually a slave if it is not purified. Therefore, the first step is to access higher intelligence. If we want to realize the statement of Prabhupada that I am a pure spirit soul, then we need to access higher intelligence. Hearing. And second is chanting. Chanting cleans the chitta. See, the manas, the antakaran, our inner world, is composed of manas, buddhi, ahankar and chitta. Manas is all the subconscious mind. All that it has happened till this point of time is all in the manas. Buddhi is your conscious awareness now. The mind that you're using now to operate, that is buddhi. Ahankar is our sense of identity. And chitta is everything, the conglomerate of this is called chitta. So the chitta is containing so much of impressions. So when we chant Hare Krishna, the cleansing happens. So therefore, hearing and chanting is the basis of realizing that I am not the body, but I am the pure spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna. And the third most important is service. When I serve, when I have the mood of service, that's when I access the level of soul. Jivera swarupe hoye, Krishnera nityadas. Most of us, we are trapped by our physical needs. What is the physical need centered on? I want food. I want pleasure. Bodily or physical needs are all centered on that. I want food. And then some people transcend this. They say they understand that I want pleasure won't sustain, because the craving for pleasure is always more than the capacity of the body to fulfill it. So people get frustrated. Therefore they say, oh, physical pleasure, physical need is not so important. Then they go to emotional need. What is emotional need? I want love. Many people realize I want food, I want pleasure is very low level. I want love. But then some evolved people, they realize after some time, I want love is also very superficial. Because you can get lots of love and still feel you don't get enough love. Because the craving is always more than what you need. Just like food. The capacity of the stomach is less than the craving of the tongue. Just like pleasure, we want more than what we actually need. Similarly, love is also something like that. I want love, if that is your operating system, you will never be happy. In fact, when you hear the word love, ask yourself honestly, the word love, as soon as you hear, the first thought that comes is, oh, somebody should love me. It's all about ourselves, right? Love is all about, I should be loved. So this is our disease. So see, if you are trapped by your physical needs, you will constantly say, I want pleasure. If you are trapped by your emotional need, you will constantly say, I want love. But spiritual need is not I want pleasure. It's not I want love. It's I want to give love. When we enter this space, we are touching spiritual need. And that is when we can experience, I am a pure spirit soul, I am part and parcel of Krishna. Because that's the nature of the soul. Yata tarormula nishechanena tripyanti taskanda bujopashakha pranopahara chayatendriyanam tateva sarvaranamachyuteja. Fifth canto explains that just like we water the root of the tree, just like we feed food to the stomach, we need to serve the Lord. We need to get out of ourselves. So therefore, this is the way. So there are three things. Okay, I'm summarizing before we go to the last point of today's presentation. Today we are discussing how to apply Pancha Kosha in our day-to-day life. And we discussed how Pancha Kosha application means realizing I'm not the body, but I'm the soul, and the soul have a relationship with Krishna. And we are discussing this based on Srila Prabhupada's 3 golden statements. First is, I'm not the body. Second, I'm a pure spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. And third statement is, I have a loving relationship with Krishna. Then we are discussing how to experience these 3 statements of Srila Prabhupada in our day-to-day life. We experience I am not the body by 2 activities. What is the first? Awareness of the Pancha Koshas and separating ourselves from the Pancha Koshas. We give examples like when you are sad, instead of saying I am sad, you could say, my mind is sad. When you are angry, instead of saying, or when you are confused, instead of saying I am confused, my intelligence is confused. Separate yourself from the Pancha Koshas. If it appears weird and odd to tell others, at least tell yourself. Don't have to tell others. Tell yourself at least, so that separate yourself. So that's one way of realizing I'm not the body. And what is the second way? Taking care of these koshas, not neglecting them abruptly. That is 2. That is the first topic. Second, how do we realize I am a pure spirit soul? 3 things. What is the first? Hearing scripture. Second, chanting. And third, service. And within service we realized if we don't center our life on service, we'll be trapped by our physical and emotional needs. We'll only live at the physical and emotional platform. Physical needs means I want pleasure. Emotional needs means I want love. Spiritual need is I want to give love. And I've seen people who focus their life on I want to give love. Actually, their physical and emotional needs are also satisfied. I know one of my distant relatives. He lived his whole life not like a beggar, but lived with less. He gave free tuition classes for physics, maths. He just generously gave astrological consultation. He just was giving himself to the society. He had a small job, and that income was sufficient to take care of his family. He lived an honest, fulfilled life, completely at peace. He left this world also very peacefully. Tomorrow is Ekadashi. Acha, when is Ekadashi? Acha, day after tomorrow. Okay, I think, and then I will leave on day after tomorrow. And on that Ekadashi, he calls all the family members. Okay, I'm leaving now. Hari bol. He's not an ISKCON devotee. It's just that he lived his life taking care of his spiritual need. I want to give. So his whole system was aligned to the universe. He knew how to. He lived with grace. He left with grace. What a dignified life. So anyway, so that's about I am a pure spirit soul. Now the third statement of Srila Prabhupada. You can repeat that also after me. I have a loving relationship with Krishna. And to experience this, I am now sharing with you 2 tools that can help us experience a loving relationship with Krishna. Now so there are 2 things. First is slow down. Pause. Press the pause button. If you want a relationship with Krishna, slow. Pause. You may say, but I've got so much to do. I'm telling pause only to those who are devotees here. If you're not a devotee, don't slow down. If you're not a devotee, please do seva for Krishna. If you're already a devotee doing a lot of seva, then you need to slow down. You need to pause. See, if you are not connected to Krishna and if you slow down, your mind may take over. But if you are a devotee, please slow down. Pause. And I'm assuming you're doing the other things that I told you, like hearing, chanting. If that is happening, then you also need to slow down. And second, most important, when you slow down is, you come back to Krishna. More important than being with Krishna is coming back to Krishna. And coming back to Krishna means chanting japa. While chanting japa, coming back to Krishna, offering our heart to Krishna, or praying to Krishna, coming back to Krishna through our prayer sessions, during our prayer sessions. Because the mind is always running fast, right? If we want a loving relationship with Krishna, we should be able to tell Krishna, Krishna, I was not with you, but now I offer this moment to you. I'm coming back to you now. How many of you, when you are standing in front of the Lord, Radha, Neel, Madhav, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, and offering prayers, how many of you have experienced that, let's say you are praying, offering a prayer to someone, for someone. Like let's say you know someone who's going through a financial difficulty, and you're offering a prayer, Krishna, please help him. He's going through a financial difficulty. This is what you're saying in the mind. And then how many of you have experienced that your mind has wandered off to something else? And after a few minutes, you're just standing there and you're wondering what happened. Where was I? It happened to you? And then what do you do when you realize that? Most of us, we feel exasperated, we feel inadequate, we feel I'm not good enough, and we stop praying. The best thing to do at that time would be, Krishna, I was lost, but I'm coming back to you now. Many of us, we are scared to come back because we feel I'm a failure. We think Krishna will also judge us, just like the people of this world. If you're not good enough in something that you're supposed to do, then your immediate master or authority will judge you. But Krishna is not waiting for you to become a pure devotee. Krishna is not waiting for you to become perfect. He's just waiting to see, are you coming back to him? See, how the mind tricks. I'll give an example. I was standing in front of the Lord and praying to our deities in Mumbai. This is what I was doing externally. In the mind, I began like this. Krishna, please help Sanjay and Swati. They're going through a divorce. Please save their marriage. They're such a nice couple. Now, this is what I was saying. I began my prayer like that. Krishna, please help. Now, I can't say this out loud because there are people around me and they'll all get bewildered, right? When we pray, we don't speak it out loud. The prayer is not at Vaikari Vak. It is at Madhyama Vak. It is at the thought level. Because if everybody starts praying loudly, it will be crazy, right? So I was praying like that, like all of you. Krishna, please help. Please help Sanjay and Swati. But you know what happened? As I started praying like this, my mind went where? Oh, I told you, remember this. I am in the center. Krishna is here. And who is here? Mind, intelligence, ego, all the koshas. So I started like this. Krishna, please help Sanjay and Swati. And then the mind. Oh, it's Swati's fault. She's the one responsible for the marriage breaking apart. And she's exactly like that girl. You remember Sanjana in London? She's also responsible for their marriage breaking apart. And that Sanjana, she looks exactly like your sister-in-law. Remember? Your sister-in-law who died in that scooter accident in 1996. She was going in that scooter with her son sitting behind, and she was wearing a helmet, but she died on the spot. But nothing happened to her son. Oh, these bus drivers are very rash. And remember that bus which hit an auto rickshaw outside the High Court? And that auto rickshaw was crushed to pieces? Oh, talking about that High Court, remember that man who was running with the dragger soaked in blood outside the High Court? And remember that movie you saw with your friends where the hero was chasing the villain with the dragger soaked with blood? Oh, that movie you had gone to see with Vikas, Siddharth, Rajat. And talking about Vikas is in Australia. Rajat is in Canada. I should be visiting Canada next year. No, but Siddharth didn't invite me. Oh, Siddharth is in London. But London, Sanjana is there. Oh, Sanjana is the one who's getting divorced. Oh, then I came back to Swati and Sanjay. And then where was I? Hare Krishna. And then somebody comes and tells me, Prabhuji, you are praying so nicely to the Lord. They have no idea what I was doing. Anybody here, is this a familiar story or is it only my story? All of us go through this. So why I'm giving this example? Just to make you understand that how the mind is fickle, chanchal. The mind is always running. So you need to pause. Not that if you pause too much, the mind can come through the back door. So don't underestimate the power of the mind. The point I'm saying is come back to Krishna. So what did I do at that moment? Krishna, I'm sorry, I was not present. I need to go now. I tried my best to pray for Sanjay and Swati. Please see my sincerity. That's it. Okay. Although I stood there for 10 minutes and I may have prayed only for maybe a few seconds. But that coming back to Krishna is what is important. And if you find this extremely difficult to come back to Krishna, I have one technique I want to share with all of you. All of you have paper and pen or something to write, your phone or something. Okay, this exercise, I'll explain this exercise and you will do this exercise for just 3 minutes and you will see the magic and the power of coming back to Krishna. Now before you do this exercise, let me explain. Please listen to this carefully. I'll tell you my own story and then this may inspire you to do the exercise. So one of the 13, 14 types of journal that I write, not every day I do all the 14, but one of the journals I write regularly is called Prayer Awareness Journal, which means I begin with the prayer. So I wrote something like this recently. Krishna, I love you. Krishna, I really, really want to serve your devotees. Krishna, I don't want to have any ulterior motive. This is what I was writing. So I wrote one paragraph and I realized that it's not my voice. The mind, intelligence, ego was shouting so loudly. It was not that I was telling Krishna, I love you. It was this phenomenon called mind which was telling Krishna all this. So my voice was drowned in the voice of this mind, intelligence, ego. The Pancha Koshas. It was not my voice. I don't know how to explain this. It's like, sometimes in the Kirtan, Guru Puja, Kartal, Vampar, loud, you're talking to someone, you can't hear what you are saying. He can't hear what you're saying. You also can't hear sometimes what you're saying. But then you need to go outside the hall and then you explain. So writing the journal is like going outside the hall. Okay. Because this noise is too loud. So what do? I begin with the prayer. So today, when I play the Kartal, when I say start, you're going to start writing a prayer. But at some point of time, if you feel your prayer is not if your prayer is not heartfelt, you're not present, then you stop the paragraph, start a second paragraph, where you simply observe what the mind is saying and write it down. Now the mind says, when will the class end? Now the mind says, what is there for dinner prasadam today? Whatever the mind is saying at that moment, just write it down like a video camera is observing it, without judgment. Is this clear? And what will happen at a certain point of time, the mind will suddenly stop. You will go blank. Because just like a tantrum throwing wife or a husband, a spouse who is tantrum throwing, and you are just reflecting back, listening. At some point in time, what happens? Nikal gaya. Shant ho gaya na? Similarly, the mind at some point of time will have nothing to say because you have apprehended the mind. Awareness punctures the mind's rant. When there is no emotion added, you are puncturing the mind. Remember this. Just observe and write it down. So when the mind keeps quiet, kuch nahi bolna hai. And that's what you do then. That's your moment. Grab it. You are looking at the mind and just observing, and the mind is quiet. Then what do? You turn to Krishna. Go back to the first paragraph and write it again. What did I begin? The first paragraph is Krishna, I love you. Krishna, I really, really want to serve you. Just write the same sentence again. I did that. And as I was writing the same sentence, now in a space where my mind voice was quiet, it was my voice. When I said, Krishna, I want to serve you, it was different. That sentence carried a different energy. It is ineffable. I cannot explain it in words. What I'm saying right now is like a man on the surface of the swimming pool who is saying blah, 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 blah. But when he's deep in the pool, doing underwater swimming, there is peace. But he can't explain that. So he comes on the surface and blah, 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 he may say something. Similarly, this is simply words. But when the mind is quiet, you can actually offer prayers to Krishna. That is your voice. So then I realized when I was writing that, suddenly, I felt as if I'm in a spiritual dimension. Because it is an ordinary sentence, Krishna, I love you. It's just that when I wrote it in a space when the mind was quiet, it was my voice. It was not my mind saying, Krishna, I love you. Do you get what I'm saying? Can you do this exercise? Would somebody like to explain what is this exercise all about? What are we supposed to do? How do we write this journal? What do we do? Would somebody like to explain? Anybody likes to explain? Would like to explain? Yes. Jayadvait. What will all of us do now? When I play the kartal, what's going to be the exercise?
So we'll start writing a prayer.
Okay.
And if we feel the voice in the prayer is not ours, we just change the paragraph and start writing the second paragraph. And we still, in the second paragraph, we are supposed to observe the mind and write what the mind is telling us. And at a certain point, we'll be blank, and at that point, continue writing, and the prayer will feel like that.
Continue writing what? Come back to the prayer.
Prayer, yes.
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 There are 3 steps. First step is prayer. And if the prayer is heartfelt and you are present, continue. But if you are lost, if you are not carrying the energy of prayer, then pause. Start us. The second step is awareness journal. Just write what the mind is saying. Very important criteria in the second step. What is that?
Now my mind is saying this.
Yeah, not me. Minus, separate your emotions. Don't get emotional in the second step. It's simply observing without judgment. And what will happen because of this? After some time, the mind will keep quiet. And what you do at that moment? The third step is again prayer. And you will see a big difference in your prayer now. So this is what is the whole exercise about? What are we trying to do through this exercise? Coming back to Krishna. This is the way we develop our relationship with Krishna. So can we do this exercise? All of you ready? The time starts now. Hare Krishna. Thank you for doing this exercise. So the basis of Pancha Kosha understanding is that because all of us identify ourselves with one or more of these koshas, what has happened because of that? We are disconnected from Krishna. And whatever you identify with, that becomes the source of your suffering. If you identify yourself with the mind, then the mind becomes the source of your suffering. I suffer from the 2 challenges I have most of the time is need for clarity. And earlier I used to get agitated, but now I can pause and I can say that my mind is agitated because my mind wants clarity. I'm able to separate myself, not always, but whenever I do that, I become peaceful. Otherwise, our identity is merged with mind and intelligence, because that's what I think I am, then that gives me suffering. So we can experience, so to summarize what we discussed today, we took 3 statements of Srila Prabhupada and how we can practically experience these statements in our day-to-day life. The first statement is, will you all repeat after me? Or does anybody know what is the first statement? I am not the body. What is the second statement? I am a pure spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. And the third statement? I have a loving relationship with Krishna. So how do we experience the first statement, I am not the body? By improving our awareness and separating ourselves from the Pancha Koshas. And the second way is to actually do the minimum needful to take care of our sheaths. How do we realize the second statement, that I am a pure spirit soul? Hearing scriptures. And how does hearing help? What does it do actually? It purifies the intelligence. It gives us scriptural intelligence. And second process is chanting. Chanting cleans the chitta. And the third, service. And service basically moving from physical needs, I want pleasure, to emotional needs, I want love, to spiritual need, which is I want to give love. So this is 3 things we can do. And the last statement of Srila Prabhupada, I have a loving relationship with Krishna. That can be realized by slow. Pause, slow down your life. And then coming back to Krishna. You can come back either through japa or through journal. I shared journal. The same thing what you did on journal, you can do in your japa also. Your beads can be the paper. Your fingering the beads can be like writing. It's like you're coming back to Krishna as you're chanting japa. Krishna, I was not present. Krishna, I now come back to you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So like that. So thank you very much for taking part in this 2-part seminar on integrated spirituality. Now we can have some questions. We have time for questions, comments? Just one question. Okay. Whoever is having a burning question, desperate, only that person. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, can you just elaborate a little bit more on slowing down?
I grew up with my grandparents in a village. So, in the evenings we would go to the fields. My grandfather would hold my hand, right hand, my grandmom my left hand. And we would sit in the middle of the fields, that place where we walk. And they would look at the vast expanse. And I would look at my granddad and then look at my grandmom. They would just share silence. And then occasionally they would say something to each other. And at one point of time they would say, okay. They would look and then they knew that they had to go back home. I don't know how long they sat like that. Now it's unimaginable. We are living at a time when we think if you are not stimulated, there is something wrong with you. Right? Being bored is seen as a sin. But boredom is the gateway to creativity. Just relaxing, pausing, slowing down helps you connect to yourself. We are scared to spend time alone because we think there is a dangerous, deadly forest inside where there are wolves, jackals, lions and tigers. We are scared of this forest inside. But if you persist, pause, slow down, you will realize that this is not a dangerous forest. This is Vrindavan forest inside. Krishna is there. We are just scared to enter the forest. Just pause, just slow down. Come face to face with all that thing that crops up. Don't react, just observe without judging. And most important part of relaxation and slowing down is, during that period, you should not have your smartphone with you. This is the most important. We can't say, I am relaxing, Prabhu, 6 hours I am watching Netflix. So I was so relaxed. You are disconnected from even, what to speak of metaphysical reality, you are even disconnected from physical reality. You are living in a space of virtual reality. So total disconnection. So slowing down means no smartphone and you're basically connecting. You're connecting to yourself.
Basically consciously slowing down your mind.
Yes, consciously slowing down your mind, and chanting is the best way to do that. Listening to the holy names. Again, while chanting, we are trying to control the mind. I don't know if you've seen this. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram. That's Vikshipta. According to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, it's not meditation. It's given Krishna doesn't know what we are doing. We were going to Mayapur. I'll just end with this one thing. They can wait just 1 minute. So when we were going to Mayapur in the train, so we were 6 brahmacharis, 7 of us, and there were one Bengali couple sitting the window seat, and rest all brahmacharis were sitting. And early morning we got up and we were chanting Hare Krishna. And one of the brahmacharis was super enthusiastic. He was chanting like this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna. Now just imagine this Bengali couple. They're not devotees. They're just sitting and they're looking at him early morning. So you can imagine we don't get shocked by that because we are seeing it every day. So I was enjoying it. I was looking at both of them and poor that Bengali couple, my God. They were so scared. They didn't know what was happening. They thought he got some fits or some, kya ho gaya? They're looking at each other, looking at him. Finally that man couldn't tolerate. He asked me, महाराज को क्या हो गया, व्हाट हैपेंड? अच्छा, उनको कृष्ण प्रेम हो गया उनको. Anyway, the point is, slow down, relax. Krishna is there. Krishna will come. You don't have to. Bhakti, Krishna is not achieved. Krishna is received. We need to slow down to receive Krishna. We can't just run and catch Krishna. We run, but we also slow down. Is that okay? Thank you very much. Shri Radha Neel Madhav Bhagwan ki jai, Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Jagannath Baldev Sodhara Maya ki jai, Lakshmi Narasimhadev Bhagwan ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.